Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
I'm Sal Abenanti, and I'm here on Kickstarter to ask for your support to produce my 115-page color graphic novel, The Hostage. Hostage is set in the streets of Rio de Janeiro, based on the plight of the street children that live in the favelas. In the world of the graphic novel, being murdered daily, and the hostage is the evil spirit that is raised to avenge their death. Origins go all the way back to the indigenous tribes of the Amazon as the spirits that protect children, especially murdered children. The level of death that these kids have to endure every day. They have nowhere to sleep. They have no place to eat. They have to survive off of begging. There were nobody in capes that were coming to save these kids.
The Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
Welcome back. It's time again for another episode of To the Outer Limits. Today we're discussing a visual classic, and that is the epic Warren Oates episode, The Mutant. I'm looking for the card. There it is. Boom. Right now it's myself and Gabe Hardman and William Meyer. It's good to see everybody. Here, Gabe, I'll put you up here. There we go.
Oh, thank God. Jesus Christ. I feel like I have to tell you every time that I deserve equal respect as a co-host, but you did it this time, and I'm good. Okay.
Look, you even have the Word Balloon logo right there next to your head.
That's the important dynamic.
You're right.
All right.
No French, William. William, of course, who created the Word Balloon montage. I didn't play it tonight because I've got Sal pimping the Hostage Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of our sponsors.
Thank you for joining us, William.
Yes, indeed. Good to see you, William.
I'm happy to return in 2021 to this program.
Oh my God, it was last year. We've been doing this since 2020, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, this is the halfway point of all the episodes.
It is. You're right. You're right. Because it goes to, what, 52 or something, I think?
49, I believe, or 47. Something like that.
We're not going to argue this point right now.
No, it's fine. But no, it is under a calendar week, but it is close.
But although there will probably be more episodes than that because we're going to have some bonus stuff. I know there's a couple of bonus ones that we want to do, or at least that I'm going to do.
Very true. Very true.
The mutant. It's visually interesting for this one thing. His makeup.
Yes.
Yes. The fried egg monster.
Barney Google, Marty Feldman.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm sure that we'll have a whole chunk on Marty Feldman later in the show. But I think that for me, so this episode is about some people who go, they apparently on Earth, the control voice puts forward this idea that somehow we're on the horizon. We're menaced by two explosive forces, and it shows nuclear war and then like a rubber baby being delivered. And so I assume that the baby part is like population explosion or something.
Yes.
I'm guessing that that's what they meant by that, although I'm not entirely sure.
Oh no, obviously.
So it's about trying to colonize another planet, trying to colonize a planet that they call NX1, which I think is kind of a neat name for a planet.
That's hilarious. I think it's a direction to go at the shopping mall where you'll find Bed Bath and Beyond. But okay,
right. Those are the kind of names that I like, though.
Annex 1.
I like banal. Like if it were a fancy name, then I would feel like it would be indulgent or something.
Oh no, like Forbidden Planet. What was the Krell homeworld? I forget what it was called.
Something from the Tempest, I imagine.
Probably, yes, exactly. But yeah, or Sigma 5, or if you get into my Shatner,
Totally. But so this, there are these this small group of scientists that are on this planet. A guy comes to check in on them. Turns out somebody's been killed. And
this guy.
Everybody's a little tense. Yeah. And so and they all wear glasses all the time. They all wear big goggles, and ultimately it's because Warren Oates got caught in an ionic rainstorm, and his eyes have bulged out, and he's turned into a mutant. Here's my question: Did his eyes bulge to fill the goggles? Right, like this entire concept is backwards engineered from what could cover up his mutant, his mutation, with and not let us onto it immediately. Although they clearly let us onto it immediately in the teaser, but or at least not let the investigator guy in on it. But why is it that they all happen to have to wear those goggles there, and his mutation is his big eyes just filled up the goggles?
Yeah. I understand.
Serendipity.
I don't have a good answer for that. I do like that it's a planet where there is no night.
Yes.
This is really from the planet being called Annex 1 to the lack of tech, yet it being set on another world and stuff like that. I would say it's the most disappointing of the astronaut, possible Outer Limits episodes, because it really is utilitarian. Down to the pup tents on another planet,
And not only that, but the interior of their base seems to be the back of flats, right? Like it's like we're not even seeing the front of the flats.
And they even put a line in. Yeah, sorry, we didn't have any budget for the sets this week.
Yeah, two things in this episode that are like outrageously cheap are the fact that we literally the hallway is the back of flats, right? Presumably the other side of it are the rooms, and you could the flats are the walls, and on a set. Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is when we're in a room with one of the guys in the background, there is an Apple box in the shot with Daystar stenciled on it. It's it's the production company. Like,
did not notice that. That's fantastic.
Yes,
I wish I had a still of it.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I should have gotten one for you. But yeah, no.
That's outstanding.
Like it stuck out like it was on fire to me. Like I could not believe it. I mean, I'll recognize what an Apple box looks like, but it's like if you don't know movie stuff, not you guys, but the alleged audience, it would be it's like a little wooden box that that's sort of multi-purpose. You could prop stuff up on, or
if your leading man is too short for his actress.
Yeah, if Alan Ladd is there, he'll be standing on it. Yes,
exactly.
I think there's an unintentional pedigree in the sense that a lot of times in sci-fi, cheaper budget, you can still to this day see like lighting gear, boxes, and sound equipment that they just sort of like use to fill the space. But once you've been on a set, you're like, oh, okay, that's holding the 1K or whatever.
Right, totally. I would be much more sympathetic to this idea if the production company's name wasn't like stenciled on the front of it and you could see it in the shot. Because I feel like that may have been a mistake.
That's outstanding.
It is, but at the same time, what a great name for an interstellar.
Yeah, what are you talking about? It's very futuresque. Daystar.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah,
I loved too when the love interest referred to Larry Parnell as being a 1984 man, and at first expected a kind of postulation of what the future might be, but then she followed up by saying nothing. Not everything is a Big Brother conspiracy, and I'm like, oh yeah, that 1984.
Yes,
I really was excited about. Are they pre,
right,
thinking
right.
what precognitively, like thinking what a 1984 man attitude might be? No.
I see. Right. No. I took it as Orwell in the first place, but and I think that I mean, certainly one of the downsides of this episode is that it doesn't have any. I mean, unlike a couple of them, it tries sort of to have some themes, but it never quite lands on them. And I mean, the 1984 of it is. It's trying. I mean, you could somehow dovetail it with the fact that Warren Oates' character is this has these psychic abilities, and the guy, the guy from Earth who comes to investigate is, she calls the 1984 man is constantly, she's talking to him as as if he's very analytical, and he's and he's constantly looking into stuff. I mean, I don't think that really goes anywhere. The control voice at the end tries to hammer to get that that this is about running away from your problems to someplace else, and none of these ever quite gel. This whole episode doesn't really gel.
That was the most Criswell ending,
yes,
of the post show narrator comments and stuff. Yeah, it was like, I have no idea what you're saying right now.
But I think that I think it's really just that it's that desperate thing where you're at the end of the script and you're like, I don't know what this was about, but maybe if we just say this, people will believe it.
Why don't we all smoke a nice, cool cigarette and come back next week?
Yes.
If we're bringing up the control voice, can I bring up a stylistic thing?
Yeah.
Just historically within the show, wasn't this open? What am I trying to say? I don't remember the other episodes being so expository in the beginning. Like, he was introducing the character and the plot and sort of like helping us get a leg up on where we were in a more direct way. Like, oh, he's going to the planet and he's going to, he's exploring this. And it just seemed a lot more expository than other control voice openings.
I think that's true. I think they were also trying to fill time because this one was also a little short. But they have done that to some extent. Like,
I was going to say, I would say that there's a lot of them that have that, same kind of monologue beginning and end, and are more expository.
But to the point where they directly say this, like, he was talking directly about the character.
Yeah, I think that you're right, though. I think it is a lot more literal in that way. I think the other ones that I'm thinking of are like, I want to say the Invisibles, where we're talking about the
secret society and everything. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But that was always in that kind of Stefano-ish oblique language. It wasn't quite as direct as this.
Yeah, it was a little bit more heightened.
Yes, exactly.
Fair enough. Again, Larry Parnell, I gotta stick. Oh, I'm sorry. And if you want it, because I just want to point out, not only, I mean, geez, just look at him. Put a stash on him. Isn't it Gable? And in fact, here's a good comparison of the two with the Larry Parnell mustache and everything. And do you guys? I mean, Larry Parnell actually had a very long career. One of the last things. Well, first of all, might from a television standpoint best be known as Ellie Mae Clampett's boyfriend on the Beverly Hillbillies, with the greatest fake movie star name.
Oh, Dash Riprock.
Dash Riprock.
Yeah.
Which works as well as on the Flintstones as it would on Beverly Hillbillies. Dash Riprock. And he, and even there he was like, come on, Ellie, how are you, girl? And, very, very Gable-esque. But in the Tom Selleck baseball movie where he goes to Japan to play Mr. Baseball, he plays the owner that is scouting Selleck and Dennis Haysbert at the end of the movie, and really, as he got older, goddamn, looked like if Gable had lived past the Misfits, he would have looked like Larry Parnell. And I'm surprised that he wasn't a bigger star. We were talking off the air about he had a Ziv syndicated TV show all about parachuting called Ripcord. And there's a couple episodes on YouTube. So
and Ziv is also produced that show we're always talking about, Men into Space, that where we get a lot of the stock footage.
Right, a lot of the astronaut stock footage from Outer Limits. Highway Patrol, the Broderick Crawford precursor to Dragnet, was a Ziv show. There was a West Point show. I know that they really were very much of like the theme being the occupation and the men who did it. And like I was telling Gabe, Wendell Corey had a helicopter show that took place at a seaport, and it was called the Whirlybirds.
Yeah, which Robert Altman directed a whole ton of episodes on. I mean, I only know of it because of Altman and because reading Altman's biographies and stuff like that. And so, and Altman cut his teeth in TV and went on
combat.
Combat definitely.
I got to talk to Shecky Green about being directed by Robert Altman.
Oh, really?
Absolutely, it was really cool.
Nice. Awesome.
Back in the 90s, yeah.
Awesome. So, but I mean, I think that for Altman here on the Robert Altman podcast, I think that the thing for him was that, like, the fact that it was this helicopter show meant they were always out in the middle of nowhere. And so he had a lot of control over it, and he could just do whatever the fuck he wanted instead of, and so, like, some of his kind of loose style evolved from just like a show no one really gave a fuck about,
right?
And that
literally,
he could just kind of do whatever he wanted to with.
That was in that period when independent stations, depending on the city, were really competing with the networks, because this was still in the 50s of television, and like in Chicago, WGN, an independent television station, was part of the Mutual Television Network, but was, depending on the night, could rival really CBS and NBC. ABC was still in its infancy, kind of the way Fox was in the 80s when it first came on the scene. So, yes, Ziv used to just make all this kind of television that really was just kind of, all right, let me fill an hour and give a former A-list movie star a TV show, or even a Wendell Corey, more of a character actor,
right?
Roderick Crawford, people like that.
Since we're talking about we're launching into the character actors here. One of the things, just one note I had was that Robert Sampson, the guy who plays the one we see get killed by Warren Oates early on, I believe.
Yeah, the hypnotist.
No,
is it? Oh, no, excuse me. No, it isn't. No, it's the younger guy. There he is.
This guy, right? The younger guy.
This is true.
He's in Reanimator. He plays Dean Halsey, Barbara Crampton's dad in Reanimator. He has a very distinct, crazy fucking role, because he gets killed and comes back to life, and it's nuts. So
that's awesome. I like the shot here next to him of the full space outfit. It kind of reminds me of a precursor to The Visitors from the original miniseries of V.
Oh, right.
And it just kind of with the sunglasses and everything.
I think it's the same jumpsuit they use every week with
off the rack,
some gaffer's tape on it.
Probably true.
But but I mean, that's more or less what V was too.
Can I bring up something about this character?
Please do.
I agree this isn't as successful as some of the other episodes, but there were a few moments I liked.
Yeah.
Too bad they weren't massaged and brought out to the foreground. But his character and his sleep deprivation, and when he would talk about, I miss dreaming, and it's like a potentially evocative psychological breakdown like we see in other episodes of The Outer Limits. They didn't really go into it. But what undermined it for me was the teaser showing this one of him with Reese. I was confused. We go into this show, and it could have been before the opening. It could have been a chronological scene instead of it was actually a flash forward. And so I was like, oh, you kind of undermined the whole reveal of this, these beautiful eyes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the problem in this, because the crazy eyes are the main attraction to this one. And,
the whole thing hangs on it.
Most episodes do that. I mean, most episodes, one way or the other, tell you what it's going to be beforehand, and so it's about waiting until we get there. But I mean, I think that this one did. I think it fell flat because it was just such a long scene that felt exactly like you're saying, like maybe this is literally a teaser and this is what happened before the guy gets there. And we also don't wait very long into the episode before we see the exact same long scene.
Yeah, it feels so strange to repeat it so close. To what you just said, it reminded me of George Lucas on THX 1138 on the commentary. He talks about how the studio kept telling him to put the freaks up front. Because they didn't like the edit of the movie, and they're like, it takes too long to see the freaks.
Right. That's funny.
Well, and I like comparing this story. It's funny on the the One Outer Limits blog that I go to, and I will name check tonight, which is My Life in the Glow of the Outer Limits.blogspot.com. This guy did an incredible job of chronicling the show, and he compares this episode properly to It's a Good Life, the Twilight Zone episode with Billy Mommy. And you're a bad man. You're a really bad man. And, he could read minds and things like that. But I also compare more so to the second Star Trek pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before, where Gary Conway.
I can see that. Yeah.
That's the ESP-8. And I would have liked to have seen more toying with the people before he killed them and invading their mind, or whatever, and those kind of moments.
I mean, for
so
me,
I thought that was a missed opportunity.
No, I agree. I also, though, feel like what they could have done was just drill down more into the drama of what him holding them hostage would be like, and be able to express that better than they did, and be, so that there's so that it has more suspense to it. It has more of that feeling of, I mean, this isn't the right comparison, but like Bad Day at Black Rock. You come into the town, something's going on in the town. You don't exactly know what it is or what everybody's hiding. And, and it's sussed out over the course of it, and there are suspenseful sequences before we understand exactly what's going on. And I mean, I think that they weren't quite able to exploit that the way that I think they needed to make this work. They weren't able to really exploit the drama there.
It was, though, I love that moment when he forces him to eat the note that was going to reveal to the that. And then what else? I had the way he read minds, I thought it wasn't like a one-to-one. It wasn't like an open book. They weren't an open book to him. He had that sort of mysterious, you hid something. Oh, it has something to do with your suit. Like he just sort of had to parse it together. Like that could have been exploited in throughout the whole thing. That would have been great.
And I think that there are the ingredients for the kind of dark thematic shit that the Outer Limits does really well in this episode. They just weren't able to quite get there.
Yeah, they fell short. Absolutely.
But apparently this one was a pretty troubled script. There were 7 different writers who worked on this at different points.
Oh, wow.
The guy who initially pitched a completely different story about a space station and some interaction with an alien that then, one of the guys on the space station is sort of driven crazy by that. There was no creature aspect to it. But and they were like, well, we can't afford that. And they passed that off to somebody else who turned it into a planet. And then they, at every step, it kind of morphed and kind of, it was a whole civilization on another planet. Then it was 7 people on another planet. It just got smaller and smaller and smaller.
Well, and another thing that I don't understand why they threw in the fire ants.
I was going to bring that up.
I was confused by that.
It is a Xanthi misfit, so they had it sitting around.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it really is. But I think that it was. I think that is one of the, there are so many things in here. They feel like little dead ends from different drafts that that could never quite gel together. The thing with that ant, initially that was supposed to be, or in a previous draft, he was going to a ruined temple that was to try to get out of that ionic storm. But it was all crumbling and it wasn't protecting him from it, but it was an evidence of some previys civilization who lived there. That sounds like a neat idea, but that's yet another thing where if they would need to pay that off, they need that somehow that needs to be about what the thing is about.
I read someone speculate that the ant was from Earth and had mutated in much the same way.
That's what I assume.
Yes, exactly. I got, that was on the commentary and in the book, right? In the Outer Limits book. But I imagine it was stipulated in the script because I rewatched the episode again and that's not in the episode. That's not, you have no way of knowing that, based on the episode itself. So
I was even momentarily startled / confused how that guy evaporated. It was the ant that did it because it wasn't raining. And he runs out of the cave, which, by the way, I think it is the ant. I think it is the ant because
it is. You're right.
The ant would have. I think they're trying to get across the idea that the ant would have the same powers as Warren Oates does, because they're both mutants.
Although Warren Oates ultimately is powerless in the cave, and the fire ants seem to be able to work fine in the cave, despite having banjo eyes.
It's a bad
right.
script. It just doesn't
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sense.
Well,
I guess
that's
it's just you're totally right. That doesn't track at all. So yeah.
One other thing about Outer Limits that I do love is the opportunity that a lot of character actors get to do something a little meatier. And I mislabeled Robert Sampson when I was thinking of Walter Burke.
Yes,
And Walter Burke is one of these great character actors that always cashed in on his unique look. He was a small man. He had that face that was just loaded with Irish character to it. And of course, one of his best roles, and I'll be damned if he has more than 4 lines in the whole goddamn movie, is All the King's Men with Broderick Crawford, where he plays this little fixer or whatever that does his dirty work and is with him from when he's dirt poor to when he's the governor and everything.
Yeah.
And you've seen him in a million movies. You've seen him in a million television shows. But I really did like that he was given this position of authority and actually had something to say. And I thought really effective. I really enjoyed his performance.
Yeah, I think that his fake Van Dyke beard should get some sort of billing of its own.
Absolutely.
I like it.
He's from the mirror universe. Absolutely. He's anti-Burke.
Is he the model of the dude from the Venture Brothers?
Oh, it does seem like that, doesn't it? But I don't think so, because that's Johnny Quest stuff, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, how do you guys feel? Like, this always brings me out of it because, okay, so when he dies, he literally quotes Colonel Kurtz, quote unquote Colonel Kurtz. And I'm like, okay, you didn't really, I mean, I don't want to keep trashing. I like the episode. I did enjoy it. But, that didn't really pay off Heart of Darkness thematic. And all of a sudden he's like the horror, and then he dies and you're like, wait. Like how do you not recognize such famous last words?
I think it's just that there's lots of dead ends in the script, and I do think that it's a I mean, when you're going a million miles an hour and you're trying to get the thing out the door and it's never quite working and you have to do it, like at a certain point you're just like,
it's easy to look back and
it's done, we
got the bug eyes, we're gonna be fine.
We gotta shoot it, I mean, like, what are you gonna do at a certain point? So I mean, I think that a lot of, I guarantee you that a lot of these things that we're pointing out is weird little dead ends, things that seem like references or whatever but don't necessarily address the bigger picture, are just different drafts being kind of kludged together.
Joe Stefano going, fuck you, it's Friday and it's 5 p.m. We're losing the light. We got to finish.
And he was, and this was one of the 2 episodes, this along with Children of Spider County was one of the episodes that they were making when he was off making that other pilot, The Unknown. So this is another one of those where Stefano felt like he hated this episode. He said, I think he or Stevens, I can't remember, said it was their worst episode. But it's one that everybody working on it felt like it just got away from them entirely. So.
But again, one of the iconic images as far as Outer Limits, baddies, obviously.
Yeah. And Oates totally committed when he is first initially transformed, which we see in flashback. He is writhing in the dirt like a madman.
So we barely.
He's doing a curly. He's doing a curly spin.
Absolutely,
while he's going.
But we barely talked about Warren Oates. But Warren Oates is like one of the greatest actors of the 20th century, right?
Totally
and so, like, the fact that he's in this movie, this TV show, and this episode, and he's acting through, at least when he doesn't have those goggles on, that prosthetic, supposedly he couldn't see a damn thing. And if you watch him when he's trying to move around and just function within the set, when he's just got the eyeballs, he's clearly feeling his way around the sets.
You watch his
trying
hands.
to, but he's so committed and gives such an odd performance in a lot of ways. Like and he was a pretty experienced actor at this point. He'd been in tons of TV. He'd been in, already he'd been in tons of Westerns and guest parts and stuff like that. He was a semi-regular on Stony Burke, the previous show. He just was, So, I mean, he, unlike being in like one episode of it, he was in like 18 episodes or something. Like he was in it a lot, and he played a great character in it too. A very weaselly character.
He again was in my favorite show, Slatterly's People.
Yeah, look, he's in everything. He crosses over to all of the shows that we always bring up.
He had already done both of his Twilight Zone episodes, Purple Testament and The Seventh is Made Up of Phantoms.
And
Yes, Stony Burke, absolutely. 32 episodes of the series. 77 Sunset Strip. I'm looking for movies.
well, okay, so his first starring role though was in a Private Property, directed by Leslie Stevens. Feature. Right?
Oh, very nice. Sure.
Leslie Stevens' first feature was this kind of like contained noirish movie called Private Property, which is an interesting little indie movie that kind of recently got a decent Blu-ray release in the last couple of years, and was kind of unseeable before that. And it's 100% worth checking out. I think we should do like a special show on it, because there's so much DNA from the Outer Limits involved, and I think that and a couple other things would be good bonus shows. But
I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
But like it's that's like his first starring part. But he's in multiple Peckinpah movies. He stars in Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. He's in Wild
movie.
Bunch.
Yes, Blue Thunder was his last movie, and
he works,
great movie.
Like if you don't know movies, maybe you know him from Stripes.
Yes, Sergeant Holka, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But he worked with like my favorite movies that he's in are with Monty Hellman. Two-Lane Blacktop in particular. He plays GTO in Two-Lane Blacktop, the kind of posery guy who's in a race of sorts with the main the driver and the mechanic, the two main guys, and great sweet spot movie for the that brief moment where Easy Rider made a bunch of money, and then they gave all these people they shouldn't have given money to, studios gave them the money to make a movie. And Monty Hellman got to make Two-Lane Blacktop, this totally like slow-paced existential road car movie, that is, if you haven't seen it, you should. It's like a classic of American cinema, certainly a classic of 70s cinema. And but before that, he was in another Monty Hellman movie before that called The Shooting, which is actually an awesome movie. There's a Criterion disc for it. It's like a two movie thing with that and Ride the Whirlwind, which are both really interesting movies. Jack Nicholson wrote I think Ride the Whirlwind he wrote, and and they're like they're just of that particular era with those people from from that kind of clique in Los Angeles, and and there's a lot of DNA with the TV of this time. But and then the other Monty Hellman movie that's totally worth it, that is not super seeable, but is Cockfighter, where he plays a mute who has chickens fight. It's but talk about existential, but it was a Roger Corman produced movie. It did not go over well, and it's tough to watch in certain ways. I don't like watching chickens hurt each other. I mean, I know that I'm the sensitive guy, but but like there's basically there are kind of discrete scenes that they shot of the actual cockfighting, which Monty Hellman didn't want to have anything to do with it, apparently, and they like just shot them sort of second unit. But the rest of the movie is this kind of quiet existential story that's really interesting.
He also was in Terrence Malick's film with Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek, Badlands.
Badlands. And the thing, just to go, because I'm now on this fucking 70s bullshit, the late 60s thing. He's in this Terrence Malick's first short film called Lanton Mills, from 1969, that I have never seen. I don't know how to see, right? But so I've been fascinated by it for a long time. Warren Oates, he's in The Heat of the Night. He's the kind of peeping Tom deputy in the feature In the Heat of the Night, which is a great movie.
Blue Thunder. He's the captain. He's the police captain for Roy Scheider. Blue Thunder, one of the great police helicopter movies, perhaps the only great police helicopter movie. But no, he's really great in it. And he made another film after that it's a soft spot for me. The film Tough Enough with Dennis Quaid, where Dennis Quaid is a country singer who goes into tough man competitions, and he's the evil promoter.
Yeah,
and it's a dumb movie. Yeah, but I will not deny that I do like the movie for the box.
I certainly feel like I've watched 15 to 20 minutes of that at a time on cable in the 80s.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. But Warren Oates was just such a committed, interesting, eccentric actor that like I just really like. I think that you don't get the sense. I don't think you get the full sense of who he was, but there's something kind of weird. He could be goofy. He could be a whole lot of things, but there is a sort of weird delicacy to the way that he performs stuff. And
I always think him and Lee Marvin are coming from like kind of the same places. But
Yeah,
I agree
but
with you that I think Oates is more multi-dimensional than Marvin was.
No, I don't. I'm not. Look, we're not running down Lee Marvin here, okay? Like we're not having that. But like, but I do, because I think Lee Marvin is the greatest, right?
I love Lee Marvin.
Look,
I DVR'd the Avalanche Express the other morning on Turner.
But you want to see Lee Marvin playing something that you don't think of as Lee Marvin. Speaking of Terrence Malick, he wrote this movie but didn't direct it, called Pocket Money, with Paul Newman and Lee Marvin in it, and it is an oddball movie. Like it is part of this sort of like a genre in my head that of movie, these sort of kind of quirky, eccentric movies from people that you don't expect, and it is like that. I love that movie. There's a scene in that movie I think about like every day of my life. So I'm not. I think that Lee Marvin had a lot more range than John Saunders has given him credit for. Anyway, but so anyway.
I like the scene in this where Oates is alone. He's receiving his therapy. I assume it's all a ruse. It's not actually going to work. And he's basically monologuing. He can't, presumably, in the dark. And he's, I must remember a man and all that.
Yeah, it's
internal.
It's really good stuff. I also like he just does a lot of weird little physical bits in this. In the flashback part. And by the way, this might be the only flashback in the In and Outer Limits episode so far. I can't remember another one.
Well, there's the one with Carol O'Connor and
but that's
and Landau where they keep kind of manipulating time, and you keep seeing
it's
a flashback of sorts.
Yeah, it's the other guy. It's the guy from Space 1999 and The Fugitive.
That's right. It isn't Landau. It's Barry Morse.
Barry Morse, right? Yeah, but that's kind of like a structural thing in the thing. I mean, that's happening in real time in front of them. I'm just saying, like a literal flashback where they recall something and there's a voiceover and stuff like that. Maybe there've been a million of them.
Well, or Do Not Open Till Doomsday. You have the scenes from the 20s.
Yeah, but we don't flash back to them in the middle of the episode. This is not an important point. You're right, and I'm splitting hairs. But
Lee Marvin is a good actor.
Yes, right. Look, John. There's a bit of business, like a little physical action that he does, that Warren Oates does when he disintegrates Griff, in the flashback, where he like reaches over and he does it, and then he kind of like stands back into this straight up position, like he just got played in reverse or something. Like it's such a strange choice. I don't know how much of this is just dictated by the makeup and not quite knowing, where he was or what he was doing. But, but like, I just feel like over and over again, he does these very odd little pieces of physical business in it that I like
tagging his prey and then concentrating his power.
Yes. Yeah. It's very strange. And the way that the way that people just kind of turn into fireworks and then vanish,
I love that.
So crazy and fun. I do too.
Right there we go.
Supposedly, the way that they got that, they ended up with the optical of the rain effect. The ionic rain. Is basically how they ended up doing the dropping little metal shards or something in front of the camera. Is basically how they ended up with the effect for the transporter on Star Trek as well.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
No, I thought that the ionic rain was very effective and was trying to figure out what they were going to say it was when you first see it.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't certain if it was cosmic rays or water or whatever. Boy, if they had done a 1963 Fantastic Four film, that would have been the cosmic rays, I guess.
I suppose
it could still happen. It could still happen.
we could still go back to you're saying if it was a period movie, but yeah, I don't think we can still go back to 1964.
No.
Well, we were
Right,
discussing
period
that
film.
last night on Word Balloon that should they make a Fantastic Four movie, I would hope it would be an early 60s Cold War story because
sure, totally.
it's the best way to and have it because they got hit by the cosmic rays that they still look young.
For some, I always say that I don't watch these superhero movies, but the other night I watched some of that most recent Fantastic Four, and it's just disturbing watching a guy stretch. It's not pleasant. Like it works in the comic because you're not confronted with what the fuck that actually is, and it's not good.
That's hilarious. That's fantastic.
Flesh.
Maybe it was just because you don't want to see Miles Teller, bigger than it seems, and I can appreciate that, for God's sake.
It's unnerving. Okay, I don't care for it. I don't know how you could do it well.
I don't know how to work this into. I mean, this is the episode to say it, but I don't know.
We don't need reasons here. We've
already mentioned it all away.
I continually come at this from the wrong angle. This cave, I was in the cave that they hide in. And I think this is the only Outer Limits location that I've actually been to. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, so the cave is the cave that you've seen in every fucking movie ever made, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been there.
Robot Monster, every's been there, right? It's Bronson Cave, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's up the top of Bronson Canyon, Bronson Canyon, and it's up that road, and it's near. Oh well, no, I can't say what it's near, but yeah,
my 10-year-old sister. I was 5, she was 10. We stood in front of that cave and everything when we were little kids.
It is like literally, it's like the most shot place, and actually, although and then the rest of the stuff, William and I were kind of talking about this on Twitter earlier. It's
my backyard.
Yeah, it's just a rock is a rock, a tree is a tree. Shoot it in Griffith Park, and which is kind of weird in a way because I don't think they haven't actually shot much in Griffith Park for a show shot in LA. They like almost everything has been on that MGM backlot with the Tarzan, lake and everything. So this is actually sort of an exotic location for the Outer Limits to go to the Hollywood Hills.
To amend my earlier statement, because I just remembered I was at Vasquez Rocks, of course, where the Xanties landed.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I have been there as well.
I mean, imagine living out here and not going to Vasquez.
Yeah, that would be foolish.
By the way, both Parnell and Oates had significant roles on Thriller. Guy Grip wants us to know.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you.
Good.
Boris Karloff's Thriller, another fine anthology show.
Yeah.
Soon to follow our Golden Age of Television podcast.
Yes.
And our Ripcord podcast.
Right. Once we get through the Golden Age of Television, Ripcord, Slattery's people, then we will be doing Boris Karloff's Thriller.
I can't be a guest on Ripcord, but if you do Riptide, I'll be there.
Oh, that was
sure.
Yeah.
The
horrible stuff
with the orange robot. Yeah, as opposed to the other ones. Yeah, it's horrible because it was from like 1980 whatever. If it was from 1950 whatever, you would think
I'd be all over it like a cheap suit. Absolutely, sir. You're goddamn right.
Tales of the Gold Monkey. If you end up
I was going to say, I love Tales of the Gold Monkey.
That is not possible. The way it's possible to love Tales of the Gold Monkey is you were 8 years old when Tales of the Gold Monkey came out. No, you were not.
I was like 13 or something like that. But
All right. It's in the margin of error. I don't know. I loved Tales from the Gold Monkey when it was on, and that tells me it's terrible because I was 8 years old.
I'll admit to BitTorrenting Tales of the Gold Monkey. The pilot was still pretty good. That's about it. And just the idea of the one-eyed dog with the glass eye that the Stephen Collins, keeps using for poker and stuff like that. The dog's all pissed off because he's one-eyed because of that and everything.
Yeah, I don't think we talk about Stephen Collins anymore. I think he's
been
canceled.
Outside. Yes, he's been canceled indeed.
So anyway, that's what I have to say about this episode. Tales of the Gold Monkey, Riptide, featuring the screaming Mimi, the helicopter, Whirlybirds,
Whirlybirds with
Altman,
Wendell Colby, yes, indeed, yes.
The end.
Yeah, there you go. You're killing me.
And
here I do. Go ahead, Bill. While I get this up.
the romantic couple in the end, I guess they come back together and go back to Earth, presumably, and
I guess. Do they?
Almost June Lockhart
or do
and
they
almost
just stay
Clark
there
Gable
and
fall in
die?
love.
I don't know, because that also is just like, that's this whole thread
I was
that doesn't really
confused
go
about that.
anywhere. I don't know.
Well,
All
I
of
assume
it is
with-
like that.
I assume with Warren Oates dead, they can get whatever tube he took out of the radio, and they can.
Yeah, I think they're getting back. It's just about like the story they're telling and where it's going and everything. I don't quite get. I will say though, like William was saying, there's a couple of really interesting moments in this, and one of the little interesting moments that I actually genuinely really liked is when they're so they're going through this whole incredibly dubious plot mechanic idea of of hypnotizing him, and so that he will then only he will only recall what happened when he got back. It's so
with a trigger word.
Yeah, with the trigger word, and the word is Reese's.
What about his name? I mean, what are the odds of us saying his name
my God.
while we're in front of him?
It strains everything,
Brilliant.
right?
The doctor hung a lampshade on it, as they say in Tropeville, when he said, "Well, when you're grasping at straw, you can do is grasp the straw," and it's like.
It's
no,
true. It's like
justify this
bizarre,
bizarre,
just throwing in our face how weak this idea is maybe not, But I'll tell you the one thing I did like, though, when they're saying what what word would no one here ever say, and they solemnly cut to a single of the woman who says hope.
Yep.
There's just that was on it. I honestly felt for her. It was honestly a tragic moment, but that was the moment I think worked in this episode.
Betty Jones Moreland. What else has she been in? Let's look up her.
Looking that up, I
filmography.
found out earlier this week, and your viewers/listeners might be interested to know that the Roku channel has both seasons now of The Outer Limits for free, legit. And you don't need an account, and you can just watch them right there in your browser.
That's great.
Good. That's good to know.
Wow. Later on, after Outer Limits, about 10 years later, she was in the infamous one-season hit Toma, which later became Beretta, with Tony Musante. It was this. Yeah, Tony Musante quit. I don't know exactly what happened, but they reworked Toma on ABC into Beretta.
Oh, interesting.
But let's see here. She was on McHale's Navy. Creature from the Haunted Sea. Have Gun Will Travel, of course.
Wait, Creature from the Haunted Sea. Hold on.
You want me to look that up?
I'm doing it. Go ahead.
Is that a bird eye? Oh, it's Roger Corman. It is Roger Corman.
No. It's, I believe, that's the Monty Hellman movie, I think. I believe I'm bidding on that poster right now.
Well, it says Corman directed it on.
Let me see. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong one.
But
continue talking.
No, she's in the Eddie Dushin story about the famous piano player that nobody remembers. That's
a different. You're right. That is the Corman one. I'm thinking of a different one. It was a different Corman produced one that was Monty Hellman's first movie.
Operation Madball, which should have been a very funny army comedy with Ernie Kovacs, Mickey Rooney, and a very young Jack Lemmon, but sadly, not that good. What else? M Squad, the Lee Marvin TV series. Day of the Outlaw, Fine Western. Perry Mason, of course.
Super important, totally irrelevant fact about Creature from the Haunted Sea, though. Co-stars screenwriter Robert Towne. Now I'm remembering this because I watched it not that long ago, and Robert Towne started out as an actor. He's not very good, but I think that he went along to rewrite the script or something at the same time as they were shooting it, and he co-starred in the movie. I'm fascinated by that particularly that early Corman world.
Ooh, ironic. She was in the Gable and Lombard movie that, Mr. Barbara Streisand. Dr. Kiley from Marcus Welby. James Brolin.
James Brolin, yeah.
James Brolin and Jill Clay. Was Jill Clayburgh?
I don't think that's right.
Lombard? I forget who.
I could be wrong, but I don't think that's it. But that is a terrible fucking movie, though.
Really
it is really, really bad.
It is Jill Clayburgh that played Carol Lombard.
Well, you're right. Okay.
Alan Garfield is Louis B. Mayer. Red Buttons is in it.
Oh, R.I.P. Alan Garfield. He just died last year.
Yeah, I love him.
He may have died of COVID.
And it's tragic because actually, great character actor Alan Garfield, one of my favorites.
Also in the Conversation, in Coppola's Conversation, he's amazing in that.
He's in One Trick Pony.
Who was he in Conversation?
He's the other guy from the from the other spy guy from the kind of convention, the one who's sort of competitive with
who
him.
Tricks Hackman.
Yeah, and he goes back to he goes back to his place and all that. Yeah,
have a pen.
Yes,
he's in The Candidate.
Yes, exactly.
He's terrific, and sadly, he had like a stroke. I want to say in the mid-90s, and really was like just kind of incapacitated for like over 10 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, he did die, but he was not in good health his last years, and it's a shame because he really was a brilliant actor.
He was. Okay, I think we've done this.
Yeah, there you go. We're good.
Alan Garfield.
Big fan.
But
let's see what's next time.
Next time is The Guests, which is The Guests, which is I barely remember this episode, but and Gloria Graham is in this episode, right? Gloria Graham is like one of my favorite actresses of all time.
Yeah, me too.
She's in The Big Heat. She's in a Lonely Place. The fact that Gloria Graham is in that episode and I don't even remember it is probably not a great sign.
Oh.
But we'll see how it works out. Maybe it's better than I remember.
No, and wow, I'm looking at a picture. Well, at least it still looked like her at this point in her career. I know she had a really.
We're not going to start running down the looks of Gloria Graham here. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. This is not my thing. All right.
No, fine. I'll own this. No, honestly, it is kind of. I mean, she was an alcoholic. And she was a femme fatale, and unfortunately, as her health declined, and she was kind of a leading woman with a good look and everything, her looks diminished. She's Violet Baines in It's a Wonderful Life. She's Ado Annie in Oklahoma. I'm just a girl who can't say no.
She's also
a terrible fix. Yes.
Yes, she had her problems. Lots of people have their problems. If it was a guy, we would not be talking about.
Oh, I would.
I'd be talking about him in those terms.
I'll make an equivalence. Gig Young, man. Gig Young looked like hell at the.
That is true. Gig Young looked terrible. Anyways,
watch the Robert, likely still on YouTube, the Gene Roddenberry created Robert Culp Gig Young movie Spectre, which is kind of a Holmes Watson supernatural early 70s thing. Is it kind of interesting, worth watching?
Is it a TV movie?
Yeah, it was a failed pilot.
I don't even know this. All right.
Oh, it's fun to watch. Roddy McDowall is a devil worshiper in the movie.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah,
and Culp is the Sherlock Holmes, and Gig Young is the Dr. Watson. And I'm telling you, Gig Young's face is literally sliding off his skull. I mean, it's really sad at that.
But anything with Satan in it, anything with worshiping Satan in it, I'm watching. So I'll put that in the queue.
There you go.
All right, next week is The Guests, which I can't say, but
with Gloria Graham.
Yes, Gloria Graham.
Still looks good. All right,
we're done.
Bye.
Fair enough. All right, William. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks,
I hope you come back next week. And as always, we appreciate everybody watching. Good questions. As always, join us next time for To the Outer Limits as I scroll for the close. There it is. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good night.